Hello and welcome to The Grove. Today we'll be continuing The Eye in the Abyss by Anthony Reynolds. This will be part 2, so if you've not watched part 1, go back and watch that before this one. The journey was made every year on the vernal equinox, when day and night were made of equal length. 3 among the Frostguard were chosen. All came from the Keeper's Lodge, the inner circle of the faith who guarded the deeping ways. It was a great honor to be singled out for the most sacred of duties, and Sigvar's chest had swelled with pride when the deep horns had sounded and his name been called. At 19 winters, he was one of the youngest Frostguard ever to have been chosen. How many times had he gazed upon the roll of honor, thousands upon thousands of names chiseled into the walls of the lodge. One of his first memories after coming to the Citadel was of reverently tracing the outlines of those names and dreaming of their great deeds. More than half had a simple rune engraved after their name, the rune of death, indicating those who had perished while performing this sacred duty. It was a dangerous thing to delve too deep, even for one of Iceborn bloodline. Kneeling before the dark ice statues of the 3, revered Everosa, Cyrilda, and Lysandra, he had long beseeched them to find him worthy, to one day let his name join those esteemed others. Now it seemed his prayers had been answered. He had trained his whole life for this honor. He would do the Keeper's Lodge proud. They walked along the bridge, beneath the gaze of the giant, silent guardian statues that marked the way. The relentless winds battered them, screaming around them in whirling eddies. It had many names, this bridge, the Proving Grounds and the Murder Bridge among them. Others knew it simply as Citadel Bridge or the Howling Arch. If it had a name during the time of the 3, it was now lost. Among the Frostguard it was often referred to as the Bridge of Sorrows. Thousands of Iceborn had perished here after all. It was truly ancient, said to have been crafted by the old gods. The time of those deities was long past, of course. Some of the heathen tribes still worshipped them, but in time they would be brought around to the true faith, voluntarily or by the sword. Regardless of whether they accepted it or not, the ice would claim them. Parts of the stonework had crumbled, falling into the darkness. Time had no respect for ancient beauty, the Frost Priest thought. Everything was fleeting on a large enough time scale. Even the greatest mountain would be leveled by wind and ice given enough years. Only faith was eternal. A deep sense of reverence hung with Sigvar as he walked with Stonefist and ice in her soul across the expanse. The greatest battle ever to have been fought had taken place here, thousands of years past. Here, the Iceborn had fought the Watchers, and in a battle that would determine the fate of the world. And here, they were victorious, though only at great cost, and the Watchers had been hurled into darkness. Sigvar walked in silence, lost in his thoughts of that earlier, greater age. Neither of the other 2 Iceborn spoke as they made their way across, though whether that was due to relentless roaring of the wind, or if they too were lost in ancient legend, Sigvar knew not. They reached the other side of the Bridge of Sorrows, where Lysandra had led the Iceborn in that ancient, titanic battle, and there, Hala Ice in her soul called the halt with her raised hands. "We go down here," she said, shouting to be heard over the gale, pointing towards a section of the bridge near the chasm wall that had long ago fallen. Sigvar and Olar both nodded in deference. Olar might have been older and more experienced, his name carved 9 times upon the wall of the lodge to Hala's 3. But old habits died hard. The blood of the 3 was stronger in the women of the Freljord's tribes. "I lead the way," shouted Hala. "Stonefist is the anchor in the center, have quiver at the back." They unraveled 2 lengths of rope, hooked them onto each other's belts. Hala's to Olar's, Olar's to Sigvar's. They tightened the straps on the iron toe spikes affixed to their boots, and unhooked ice picks, securing them to their wrists with loops of leather. Hala whipped her picks around in a few arcing tight circles, loosening her muscles. Then she jumped off the bridge, landing 10 feet below on an outcropping of ice jutting from the chasm wall. Sigvar and Olar waited for her to secure herself, digging her picks into the ice before they jumped down to join her. "We are all the will of the goddess, she who walks among us," said Hala. "Do her proud, sons of winter." Then she went over the edge, putting her picks deeper and scrambling over the precipice. She kicked her toe spikes in and began the descent. Olar grinned at Sigvar, his eyes glinting with savage glee.
You will not be the same Iceborn when we return. The Howling Abyss changes you. If you return.
He gave a wink, then he too went over the edge, disappearing from sight, leaving Sigvar alone. No, not alone, he reminded himself. The eye was upon him. He felt it burning still into the skin of his forehead. Lysandra was with him, now and always. He waited a moment longer, then began the long climb into the fathomless depths.